He's just such a quiet.
Got to finish that. The whole.
Right,
Got the rest of that to do. Mama tried.
I'm over here working, making Dustin millions.
I like
That's
it.
what I'm doing.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Mr. Santee, Ron McNelis, coming live from You Build It Santee, who happens to be the sponsor as well, and kind of what we're going to talk a little bit about today, amongst other things here. But with me, of course, is Dustin Trotter, my partner in crime here. And what's going on? What's going on with You Build It and TDT Construction and
I thought we were talking about what's going on. It was 93
freaking
degrees in Santee today. That's what's going on.
It wasn't 93.
And my truck said 93. Right?
Your truck's a liar.
Well, it's just like
Truck's
AC in here.
Now
that is
an absolute liar. That thing is. There's no
I'd
way.
I'd rather be cooler than hotter, though. I'll tell you that.
No, I'm the other way around.
Exactly.
There is no way it's 82 degrees in here right now. I'm only part lizard. So anyways,
Yeah.
how are you all doing today?
4 p.m. on Friday. So normally we're obviously on Thursday, you guys.
Yes.
We had obviously a scheduling conflict going on with producer Joe and our show. So we're here on Friday. Hope everybody's here tonight and talk about what's happening around the community. But we're here to talk about, like I said, You Build It Santee, talk about TDT construction, financing, real estate. You know, really the life we live in, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we want to talk about, you guys. This is what we do every single day. I get up in the morning and go to work, right? Literally. And we talk about, this is what we do every day.
You started at a different time than I do.
A little bit.
Yeah, he's like 5 o'clock in the morning guy. No matter what we've done the night before, you're still up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
God, dude,
4:30.
when you get to my age, it'll be a little more difficult. I'm a lot older.
The years do catch up to all of us, though. I tell you that.
That's for darn sure. Not that I was ever a 5 o'clock in the morning
Yeah,
guy.
I think
but
that's actually the problem.
Yeah.
You know, I've always had been for the last 28 years. So I've been doing construction for 28 years, Rob. You know, I put this in perspective, thinking about my life, right? At the age I am today, 28 years building houses. And it's actually, I mean, we did a little research study, kind of, figure things out and stuff. And 22 years I've been on my own now, my own business. I've never worked for anybody else for the last 22 years. In the last 22 years, we've either built, remodeled, or done something on over 1,500 houses.
That's a lot, man.
In 22 years. And you start bringing down the numbers. I mean, it's a lot. It's kind of wild, but
It's
numbers are numbers,
it's
right?
impressive that it's just the overall portfolio of what you've done. That's
Yeah.
actually more impressive because most people, it's a specific genre that they get into. It's they're very specific to, okay, well, I build condos, I build detached house, I do room additions, I build balconies, I do repair work. You've done everything from commercial, commercial building like handles to multifamily apartment complexes to add-ons to bathroom remodels to you've got it done it all.
I've always said, thinking about like real estate, thinking about the market, things like that, what we deal with inflation, what we're dealing today in the economy, things like that. I've always said I'm adaptable, right? So I adapt to what the market gives me. The market gives me something, I figure out how to make that work for us, right? In the business, we go with what's going there. So some of that, what you're talking about, is from that. It's being adaptable. It's being what the market gives us to get into something else. I always think back as like, is it right, wrong, or indifferent? I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's what we did, right? So you said the fruit of the labor is there.
Oh, yeah.
We have a portfolio that is, I don't know who to compare it to, and I don't try to compare it to anybody because I am myself, ultimately, But we have a portfolio that I don't deny that it's pretty impressive when you start looking at it in totality.
Yeah.
Right? You start A to Z, and you look at, look at Christine, campground renovations. So
Campground, exactly.
Hey. So, I mean, KP's right. I mean, that's another thing. So 3.5 years ago, I mean, I guess 4 years ago now, because I sold that business in 2016, or shit, 2025, December 16th, 2025.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's been 6 months since I sold that. So that campground I bought out in Georgia. A lot of people know, some people don't know, but I bought that in Georgia, and I literally turned that around. That business was underperforming. It was mismanaged. It was a mom and pop kind of shop. We turned it into a, call it a, we basically took the revenue.
Turned it into a business.
We turned it into a business, and we 2.5 times the revenue in 3.5 years.
Yeah.
That was doing. It was producing. We sold that business in 2016. We sold that campground.
2026.
Yeah, 2026.
2025. Now
December 16, 2025. We sold that, but literally it was taking a business, like you said, that was underperforming, and we made it into something, and we made a substantial profit on our fruits of our labor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's half of what we do. A lot of our work is with clients. Some of the work is on our own. I mean, it's a whole mix and a variety. But you're right. A lot of people focus on a niche, right? And they're very good at it. And you should be. Honestly, I tell everybody, you need to be good at one thing first before you expand to something else.
Yeah.
That is fundamentally right.
Yeah.
You know, but if you can't do the fundamental things right, you shouldn't be doing anything at all. Is that right? Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, when I was selling real estate, I haven't sold real estate since 2013, I think, was the last time. But originally when I first started out in
Let me turn this around real quick. So here we go.
Padres.
Yeah, because it was on the backside. So everybody knows the Padres are playing tonight against the Dodgers, right?
The Doyers.
The Dodgers.
So when I first started selling, it was, my license says, hey, I can sell real estate anywhere in California. So I was like, man, I can sell anywhere in California. I have friends up in San Bernardino and LA and stuff still. And I was
40
like,
million people in California.
I can totally do that, right?
Yep.
And the more I was not only in real estate, selling real estate, but getting involved into the leadership of the California Association of Realtors, I learned
going to Sacramento.
Yeah,
like
I learned of all the liability and all the things that really I should be focusing on is way more of a microcosm than it is the macro. Just being more specific to an area than to everywhere. Now with lending, we do lend nationwide, but I don't necessarily have to leave my desk for lending. That's just that's my thing. I can do that anywhere because it's all virtual. I don't have to. The nuances are all the same across the country as far as because they're federal guidelines. But when you talk about real estate sales, it's very localized. Counties are different than another county. Whereas lending, it's because it's all sold as mortgage-backed security. For the most part, on Wall Street, everything is very conforming, which is why you have conforming loans, because they all conform to the same rules and regs. So it's easier to do that in a macro type of format than it is to do real estate or construction. You've kind of got a soft rule, but it's actually maybe a hard rule.
It's a pretty hard rule. I mean,
on your geography.
Yeah. So Rob's right. So in 2005, 2008, you guys, I'm going back, obviously to a little bit to the beginning here again. When I got first licensed, I didn't have a book of business. I didn't have customers. I had clients, right? Mm-hmm. So I was out there when I saw sticks going up. I dropped my card or making relationships. Building that rapport. Being my personality standing out, right? Yeah. The work is the work, right? So you have to perform behind what you say. Number one in business, right? Yep. And so we're spread out in construction. There's always a need somewhere, right? So construction is no matter what. It's a single family home to a commercial building to a tenant improvement to a remodel. Everybody needs somebody, a handyman, all of it, right? So, we're running around town doing the whole 9 yards, trying to build our business, going up to North County, Orange County, Riverside, and all stuff like that. And it took a little while. It was got there. But in 2015, this was kind of the pinnacle for me. In 2015, we built 4 houses in the city of San Marcos. Mm-hmm. Okay. When I built those 4 houses, brand new houses,
I remember
dirt,
I remember that.
Right? Yeah. 4 houses. It was an hour and 15 minutes each way. So in the morning, hour and 15 to get up there, an hour and 15 on the way to get back to Santee. Yep. Home base is Santee. Yeah. It has been for a very, very, very long time.
Most of your life.
So right. So we always came back here. Well, an hour and 15 each way, I said, no more. I'm done. Yeah. So we said, we have a 20-mile radius from Santee is where we work at. So a 20-mile radius from Santee gets us all the way to the ocean. So La Jolla, basically, when you're going west. Gets all the way to the border going south, technically. All the way to the border.
Depending on time of day.
Right. It gets basically covers all of not all of East County, but it gets pretty far out there, past Alpine, Pine Valley area, basically. And then that's when it obviously gets a little more rural at that point, too. And then to the north, it gets us basically to Rancho Bernardo, so just south of Escondido. So that's our geographic area that we work in today. And so the last 11, 12 years, we are pretty much there. I mean, we have not deviated out of that 20-mile radius. Yeah. And we've been, I wouldn't say more successful, because, I mean, we're always adapting what the market gives us, but we've been very successful in controlling our niche and our market, right? And
so where do you see the market going then? You and I have talked about this a little bit. you're actually pretty really good friends with Daryl Priest now.
Yeah.
Who's kind of become a little bit of a mentor to you.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good guy to have as a mentor. He built half of El Cajon.
Yeah, it's
quarter of Santee.
It's become a relationship that I actually I've been look forward to, and I've told you that. Like, not just him, anybody. And so it's been a relationship that I'm growing right now, and I'm looking forward to it because I think it's it's something that we can really think about.
So taking his perspective,
I'm not explaining this
your
right now,
perspective, where do you see the future going? Is it more be an investor and build and hold, or is it build and sell for you?
Okay, if you're just talking about just me, but I think it is parallel to what's happening in the economy right now too. So we do see it in a lot of different ways, and we've seen it for a while, probably pushing 6 to 10 years, right in that range, right? Yeah. And you got companies like BlackRock, and you got other companies that are out there. Everything is pushing towards a buy and hold situation. It really is, right? So we can still buy houses, we can still remodel, we can still sell. That is fundamentally, people still want to own houses. They should own houses, and we'll talk about that, why they should own houses later. Yeah, exactly. But fundamentally, the reality is that, if you're talking about kids, talking about, not just the millennials, it's the one below that. Is it Gen Z or Gen X? I don't know what the one below. Millennial.
I'm Gen X, so.
Yeah, I'm Gen X too. I got the last year on that one.
But the next one, it's, what is it?
Z. It's Gen Z,
no.
right?
That's before the millennials, isn't it?
No, it's Gen X, then millennial, then Gen Z, and then there's something after that too.
Yeah.
So where I'm going,
Alpha. I think it's Alpha.
Yeah, whatever.
No, it really is. I think it's Alpha.
Yeah. So it's not so much the millennials, and everybody talked about the millennials taking over the baby boomers, right? So baby boomers was the biggest like demographic, that we had to deal with, right? Everybody come back from the war, baby boom, here we go, right?
Yeah.
And so now millennials became the biggest. Generation Alpha. You're right, after Gen Z or there. But millennials became the biggest demographic going forward, right? They were the ones that were going to take over all the jobs. They were going to do everything. And they started changing the way we owned homes, the way we built homes even to that manner, right? So smaller homes, smaller backyards.
Which is
smaller.
funny because that's going back to the boomer era when homes were smaller.
Right.
And kids shared rooms.
Right.
And you still had big families. They just shared rooms.
Right.
Now it's smaller houses, but fewer kids.
But there's a fundamental mindset to it of why it is, but it's also a derivative of the economy or economics, I guess you want to say, right? So when not just my parents, but probably my grandparents, to be honest with you, probably got that era where a single family home was a pretty small home ultimately, right? And they had X amount of kids, and they bunked up, and it just you didn't have a lot of.
They were on average between 1,000 and 1,500.
You didn't have a lot of amenities. You know what I mean? You had the basics, right?
No.
So you had a toilet and a sink and a kitchen, whatever. But they didn't have a TV. They didn't have a microwave. They didn't have, what I mean?
Which is why the panels, the electrical panels, always have to be upgraded and everything like
so
that.
There wasn't a lot of amenities in a home, right? Yeah. Today, everybody expects a lot of amenities or new technology or all the things that go along with it, right?
Yep.
So everything is a derivative of a cost. Right? It's the same as our cars. I mean, I can go on and on with this little where I'm going here, but everything you put into something costs something, right? So you put a car, you put all this technology into it, all these fancy things, big screens, all these automated things like that. The prices are going up like crazy, right? You're spending $60, $70, $80, $100,000 for a car today. Right, on average.
We were just talking about that Ranger that we saw. The Ranger.
Oh gosh,
Ranger.
$60,000 Ranger.
Starting.
Yes.
For a Ford Ranger.
Yeah, a Raptor Ranger. I think what it was. Yeah,
that's still a freaking Ranger.
Right. So houses are the same way, right? So it's not just labor costs. It's not just city costs. We get into the derivative, like where all the costs come into building a house, right?
There is too much of that, though.
There is too much too, and all of it adds up. Is my point, right? So every single thing that goes into building a house makes the bottom line what it costs, right? So everybody's like, oh, it's too expensive to buy a house, $600, $700, $800, $1 million today. The city of Santee, the median house price is what?
$890 or something like that, $930.
Yeah, I was at $850. I was guessing.
$850 is where is a median. It's kind of where we're seeing the biggest loan amounts are at $850 for single family homes, but median is the median. So you've got condos that are selling for $450 or $400 to $650, and then you have detached houses that are starting at $700 minimum, and then going up to million plus.
Right.
But that median right there is really like you said around 850, but it's not. That's the median. It's not. Or I'm sorry. That's more the average
Right.
than it is than it is representative of. If you say what is a detached house going for in Santee on
Right.
Just detached,
Yeah.
versus what's a condo going for, they're different answers. So you just go at housing. Here's
Sure.
where housing is.
Housing is, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, Joe, I'm going to hit you with a challenge right now. So you asked me before we started the show, can you get something together? And I just thought of something. So we have a brand new listing at 10107 Peaceful Court in the city of Santee. Okay? That's going on right now. So see if you can grab the pictures on that, because we're going to talk about why and what is that, why we do what we do and how we do it. I think that's a good example. Honestly, I'm
I
throwing
can give you numbers on that.
I'm throwing a little curveball here, but I think it's actually very important that where we're going with this conversation that we talk about that property, 10107 Peaceful Court, Santee. So, all the things I'll talk about. It costs so much to build a stinking house today, Rob. Honestly, when I started, and going back a long time ago, when my uncle was a builder back in the 70s. Oh, look at that, Joe's on money. So this right here, you guys, we're looking at is a brand new house we just listed. It's a house that I own.
A brand new remodel.
A brand new remodel. Excuse me. Sorry, not a brand new house. But I guess I kind of go in the wrong direction. But a house that we purchased a couple months ago. We remodeled this house. It just got relisted and it's on the market today. So we have an open house tomorrow on this particular property. And this particular property is over on a Peaceful Court, right across from Santana. This this unit is in the very, very back, so there's nobody behind you. It's actually real exclusive. Has a bigger backyard. There's some uniqueness to it compared to some of the other ones and stuff. But you can see, obviously, completely redone, completely remodeled. But this is what we do fundamentally every single day, right? And this particular remodel is a lot more than what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
It costs more money to remodel something like that than it did 5, 10, 15 years ago. Because of materials, because of labor costs.
And you actually can speak from experience on that because you used to flip houses. That's how I met you. You were flipping houses many years ago. So you literally know what it used to cost to rehab a property and get
so everybody doesn't know or not. I mean, I just spill that beans a little bit too. So in 2008, 2009, and we talk about going through a real estate cycle, right? So Rob and I have gone through multiple real estate cycles when we've gone up, gone down, right? So back in the early 2000s, 2003, 2004, 2005, you could stick a sign in the ground and it'd be sold, right? You didn't have to do no work. Agents didn't have to do marketing. They didn't have to do no work. They had to do all the things. Well, also we hit the 08 and 09, and we had this crash, so to say. We had the
mortgage market meltdown.
Because you got bad loans out there. There's a whole reason that this happened, right? Well, we had short sales, foreclosures. We had all kinds of things going on. Well, we got into the real estate game at that time buying houses. And so from that period of 2009 to 2013, that basically 3.5 years, I bought and sold 230 houses during that period. And it was, again, talking about pure numbers. When I look back into it, and I know what we did, I know how many houses we flipped, I know what we did, how we did it, what we bought them for. I'm actually angry at myself for not keeping more of them because I was
hindsight.
I was buying houses for $150,000 down in the Canto. We're in the hood where, when I lived in Spring Valley, we used to go to the Boys and Girls Club on Euclid right there. So literally the house across the street from where we used to hang out at, I was buying houses at that time, and it's kind of crazy. It kind of goes full circle in life.
One of the bad things about that is about the mortgage meltdown was there were a lot of foreclosures. There were a lot of foreclosures. But one of the good things about that is that brought in people like you that flipped some of these houses, and when they did that, because they were able to purchase them so low, they were able to put some money into upgrading things like plumbing, like electrical panels, like things that so some of the inventory, we'll call it, or the stock, the housing stock, got an update. They got a rehab. It did. So it helped with homes that otherwise people wouldn't have been able to afford to necessarily put that extra money in.
But I mean, that's in every market and every way we look at it. That was a
very specific.
It was, but I guess where I'm going with that particular analogy is like gentrification, right? So, you have a neighborhood that was developed, 50, 60 years ago. Your grandparents grew up there. Your parents grew up there. and all of a sudden the kids grew up there, and all of a sudden you have turnover, right? So we're actually seeing that here in the city of Santee right now. We've seen it honestly probably, what do you think, almost for the last 10 years, I want to say, where we've seen the median average age in Santee actually come down. We were at 36.8 years on the average year. And because that reason, you always talk about it, you joke about it, but you talk about it. We live in Santee, we stay in Santee, and we breathe Santee. Well, every family does too, right? So when you buy a home, you stay here for your generation. Like a lot of the people that we know have lived in their home for 20, 30, 40, 50 years almost, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have that turnover in life.
And their parents live here.
I used to own across the sidewalk from that one.
Oh.
Joe, are you talking about Peaceful Court?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So let me finish mine and I'll go back to that too, Joe. So hit it. Go ahead, Joe. Go.
No, that's actually when I met Rob. I owned 10125 Peaceful Court. It's a great community.
Yep, we can't hear you. Yeah.
All right. So, gentrification happens, right? So it doesn't matter if it's a neighborhood. Talk about Santee, same thing. People love to stay here.
Yeah.
We don't have that turnover like a lot of neighborhoods have, and we're not a young community. But we're not the oldest community either, right? So you go to San Diego, you have some very old communities. A lot of them are built around the Navy. When you come out of 32nd Street, all of a sudden, you push from National City to Encanto, and that's where a lot of people, stayed, right? So they built their families there, did the whole 9 yards.
A lot of the housing that's in Santee was for military.
It was, exactly.
I mean, the housing stock that like I said, that 1,100, that 1,000 to 1,300 square foot house, the cookie cutter house that
was the basic.
You can see that cookie cutter house. There's like 3 models, and it's just a matter of is the garage on this side or is the garage on this side?
Carlton Hills, Galston. I mean, I can name the streets, but all up and
Palmer's,
down,
all these the south side. I mean, it's south of Mass, all that whole section there in between Cuyamaca and Carlton Hills, like that whole section there. They're all the same house.
So when you say that, this might be a topic for the future to understand the history of Santee, because I don't know if a lot of people understand the history where Stoyer comes from, like the Stoyer Drive, or Ray Stoyer comes from, or where Cowles Mountain comes from, or Coles, where Mass actually, the naming rights for Mass comes to. Oh God, Christie. That might be actually a good thing for the people to understand the history of Santee and where the naming rights came from and who developed some of these areas. Yeah, because some of that actually has to do with development, guys. So when Finita Ranch originally got built and started, people don't even understand Finita Ranch is here right now. Not just what's the future of Finita Ranch, but the Finita Ranch that is current right now.
If there's a future in Finita Ranch.
Well, yeah, that's a future conversation. But I'm talking about the Finita Ranch that is here right now. If you drive down the corner of Finita Parkway and Carlton Oaks Boulevard, it's covered by bushes a little bit right now because they don't turn it back. There is literally a sign that says Finita Ranch right across from Fire Station 5. I don't know if every citizen realizes that because a lot of them don't live in that neighborhood, right? Yeah. So you obviously live in the north, in your district, in the northeast or somewhere else. You don't see it, but there is a distinct history to this city in what we do. Mm-hmm. Real estate is driven, all of it though. Is I guess what I'm saying, right? It does. Because you can build commercial buildings, you can build businesses. Hey Joe, show up a new business that we got right now coming up. So Better Buzz is coming right now. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, but we have more significant, progress on that right now. They're getting a lot closer, right? So you can see, look, the signature B on there, their colors. It's starting to look distinguished.
Well, so you talked about real estate being a driver. It's
a driver to everything that we do.
But a lot of people don't get it, and I think I talked about this a few weeks ago a little bit. I was at a party, and I had a young deputy,
like a sheriff's deputy.
Sheriff's deputy, okay. Yeah, that came up to me and just started talking about real estate, and he's making really good money. Because he works a lot. 130, 150 grand. Yeah, so in that ballpark, right? Because he's working his tail off. He's working. Sure. He does a lot of overtime. Mm-hmm. So he's stocking it away. Mm-hmm. But he's in his 20s. He's late 20s, but he's in his 20s. Okay. And he's making that kind of money. And I said, okay, well, dude, why aren't you buying a house? He started laughing. He says, it just doesn't make sense. The investment doesn't make sense. Okay. And so I said, what are you talking about? I said, okay. San Diego County has a 63-year average of like 4.8% year-over-year appreciation.
Okay.
Okay, that's San Diego County. But Santee, in particular, has a 63-year average. So that's not nothing new. That's over the last 63 years, year over year, it's been 5.18%. So if you look at appreciation,
well, you took the lower side to the higher side, it's an average of 5%.
so let's say 5%,
right?
Yeah. So let's say it's 5%.
Okay.
And I said, okay, so it's 5%. 5% year over year. I said, you buy a house, $850,000.
Okay.
Okay. Average house or like a decent home in Santee of the, what we kind of said, maybe an upgrade of a cookie cutter that we were talking about. It's not the $1 million,
No,
it's
not
3,000 square foot or whatever, but it's a nice home. And you take that at $850. I said you put 5% down. That's like $42,000. A little bit more. It's 42.5. Okay.
Right.
Put 5% down. It's 42.5. And in a year, it is appreciated by 5%.
5%.
Well, guess what? You made your money back.
Right.
That's 100% return on your investment in 1 year.
Right.
Okay. Or actually, I said, it's made $42,000. And he goes, well, yeah, but it cost me $850,000 to make $42,000. He goes, I could do better than that in the market. I said, no. Your investment was $42,500. That was your 5% down. That's your cash out of pocket.
Down payment to purchase the home.
That's your cash out of pocket.
Let's be clear, right? Because the rest of the money is not his money.
No.
He borrowed it from somebody else.
Somebody else's money.
Right. So his $42,500 that he purchased it from, and he got the multiplier on top of that.
Oh, we'll talk about that.
Right.
But I said, so if you're comparing it to the stock market, in the stock market, in order to make $42,000 and at a 5%, you would have had to put $850,000 of your money
of cash money
into the marketplace in order to do that.
I'll
It's
follow
not.
you.
So I said it's 5%. I said, so in year 2, it's 5%. What is the worth now? He goes, well, it's another 42.5. I said, no. Because now your basis is it's the 42.5 added on top of the 850.
So it's 850. So it's
492.
Yeah, exactly.
492.
892.
Or yeah, I'm sorry,
892. Yeah,
892.
So it's 850 plus the 4250 makes 892.5.
And we can compound that year over year over year, and at the end of 5 years, you're looking at $1,033,000.
Right.
It's in 5 years.
Right.
So in 5 years, you've actually you've made basically $235,000 on your $42,000 investment.
Right.
You've made over $250,000 on it, on your $42,000 investment. That's a hell of a return. And he goes, well, yeah, but maybe I invest in a business and the business does really well. I said, okay.
Yeah.
Does that business have a 63-year average of paying out this amount? Well, I don't know. Exactly. That's number one. Number two, doing this, you got two other things. You're not only making a payment every single month on your mortgage, you make a payment every single month, but what you're really doing is it's kind of a forced savings account. So what I was just talking about was the appreciation.
Okay.
But on top of that, you have amortization. So you're paying down the mortgage.
Right.
So every single month,
you borrow. I use the 850. You put 5% down, so you borrowed $810,000 roughly. I'm rounding off here, right? So now you're paying that debt down every single month.
Yes.
As you go too.
And that becomes part of your equity as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, yeah, but I'm paying interest on it. You're right. You're paying interest on that.
Absolutely right.
And you get to write that off.
Yep.
And you get to write off the property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
These are deductions that currently you're not getting, and at your tax bracket, you're getting murdered.
Yes.
And he started laughing. He goes, okay, all right. Now, if he was one of the first guys in on SpaceX,
sure,
maybe he made a hell of a return. But that's a one-time investment. It's not a guarantee of that every single year.
Right.
And the whole thing could go away. Your house isn't going to just go away.
Yeah,
and you've got to live someplace. You're going to pay. Otherwise, you're going to pay rent.
Fundamentally, I mean, this is the way it's tried and true, right? So think about it a couple different ways, right? So number one is that the majority of the richest people in this country made the money on real estate.
I talked about Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett.
It's not even
made
close,
all of
you
his
guys.
money in
It's not
real
even
estate,
close.
not in the stock market. He made it in real estate.
The majority of the people in this country made their money on real estate.
Yeah.
One of the most I don't think Warren Buffett is even the most famous.
No, not. Well,
I
think
think
he's probably one of the most famous, but
I think it's actually Ray Kroc. I think Ray Kroc's probably the most famous because he realized when he bought the franchise to McDonald's,
Yes.
when he bought the rights, not the
Yeah.
franchise, the rights to McDonald's, he realized they had something keen, right? So they were able to make this hamburger and expeditiously, in a production thing like Henry Ford,
And reproduce
and reproduce and
exactly
produce it
the
out,
same
right?
every
Okay,
single time.
so he bought the rights to McDonald's, Ray Kroc did from the McDonald, brothers or whatever. And then when he understood that when he was going to franchise it, he didn't franchise just the franchise, he franchised the land. So Ray Kroc Enterprises purchased the land to the property. They built the building for McDonald's, and now the franchisee become the franchisee, paid into to operate the business.
Right.
So they basically, so now Ray Kroc Enterprises own the land,
Right.
and they paid them for the land and the building basically at that point, right? So I mean, I can't honestly. I mean, it's probably the biggest one I can think of, and because it's the scale of it, right? McDonald's
How many
became
McDonald's were? Yeah.
they became
Yeah.
the biggest franchise in the
Yeah.
whole entire world.
There was a
not
time-
just United States.
There was a time that, this is back when Blockbuster was
yeah.
a real thing. When Blockbuster
Yeah.
videos, when getting videos was
Bro,
like
I have
a
my
big
card. I
thing,
know what
right?
you're talking about. I have my card.
And there was, I can't remember the year, but we did this. It was, looking at the stats and
Mhm.
everything, and it was who do you think sold the most VHS sold the most VHS tapes in the world?
I thought it was Hustler.
And it, and I was like, I assumed it was Blockbuster. I had no idea it was McDonald's.
Like Joe got his Blockbuster card.
It was McDonald's. McDonald's sold the most because
Mhm.
they were selling like the
Mhm.
Disney movie or whatever it may be at a
Mhm.
discount. If you got a Happy
Mhm.
Meal, you can get the videotape
Right.
of Little Mermaid or whatever it was at the time for a nominal fee.
1992.
And
That
they
would have been
sold
1992.
Yeah, and they sold more videotapes than anybody
Yeah.
else in the world. McDonald's
Yeah.
that makes hamburgers,
Right.
but they sold more
Has nothing to
videotapes.
do with their business.
It's just it's
Yeah.
how many locations, location. And speaking of locations, let's talk about your condo real
Okay.
quick. I did the stats on that one. So same thing, 5.18% year-over-year
Joe,
appreciation.
can you put the condo back up again? We're having an open house tomorrow, you guys. 10107 Peaceful Court. Come check it out. This is a beautiful renovated remodel condo.
So if you buy it at 475, which is the price that's the asking
It's
price.
the asking price.
Yep. Over the next 5 years, it's estimated it'll appreciate $113,000 over the next 5 years.
And that's crazy, you guys.
People think that is
So-
nuts, but
Yeah.
it's math. It's
It's
not
math.
nuts. It's just
All right.
it's
So
just math.
I'm going to try to do this math, but I can't really do it today, right? So I'm going to tell you a quick little story. So that condo there is one of two condos I own in that particular complex. We're actually closing escrow on another one here, next week here, and that particular one right there. So the very first house I ever bought, Rob, like literally, very first house I ever bought, period,
Mhm.
was here in the city of Santee, and it was 10147 Peaceful Court. It's the first house I ever bought. I was 19 years old, and that was my very first investment. I bought that for $79,000. So I'm trying to think about the year, so I apologize. I want to say it would have been 1998 or 99, right in that range, right? So we're putting on 27 years, 28 years, right? So I put it in perspective. I bought that for $79,000 that year. I'm selling a condo today for $475,000.
Yep.
Might be a roundup. I don't know. But how does that math work, right? So you put in the 26 years on top of that to the multiplier you just talked about, right?
Yep.
So 5% every year, right? So
Yeah.
you compound, and I'm trying these whole numbers just for everybody's sake. It's a lot going on here, you guys. But $80,000 at 5% appreciation
Year over year.
over year, right?
Mhm.
So $80,000 on year over is only $4,000, right? On $80,000,
Yes.
right? So now we also, in year 2000, we're at $84,000. But then we do 5% on top of that, for
It
for
keeps going.
every single year for 26 years. All of a sudden, that value of that condo, that I purchased in 1999 for $79,000 is now worth $475,000, basically.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the simple way to understand and look at it, right?
I can tell you
Right.
my
So
house.
in I'm using this as a real
Okay.
example. In 26 years,
Mm-hmm.
it almost appreciated $400,000. The same condo.
So,
Right.
Once again, you're starting
Yeah.
at 72,000.
Right.
I can give you another
79, but yeah.
Okay, 79,000.
Yeah.
My first condo was 72. So.
Right.
But the house I sold the condo and bought the house, my house
Mhm.
in 2000,
Mhm.
brand new build.
Yep.
Paid $292 for it.
Mhm.
Selling it now for 1.1.
Yeah.
Okay, that's $900,000 in appreciation
In how many years?
in 20 years.
In 20 years. So
26 years, sorry,
$900,000 in appreciation.
26 years.
26 years.
And this is
So-
after, and so people say,
Really the same
hold on,
example.
I know,
it's the
but
same
it
example.
really is.
Yeah.
But people say, well, yeah, but look at the mortgage market meltdown.
Doesn't
People
matter.
lost.
It doesn't matter.
People
That doesn't
lost
matter.
50%, 60%, 70% of the equity in their home
Doesn't matter.
in 3 years, 4 years.
Does not matter one bit.
Because again, if you look at the
Mhm.
overall,
Right.
I made that back up and way more than
And
that
way more.
by
So-
holding it.
So
It's-
ups and downs. It's talking about this bar graph.
which
right?
is why you
It's
have
not
an
bar graph,
average, which is why, yes,
Right.
I like doing an average. And
Right.
63, so
Right.
I got right here. 5-year average in Santee, funny thing is actually 5.18.
Yeah.
The
which is-
10-year average is 5.54,
Okay.
but 63-year average in Santee is back to 5.18.
Same as 5 years.
Yeah,
So
the last 5
So
years.
think
So
about
the
how-
last 5 years have been
So
more
think,
normal.
think about your world, right? So how long have you been doing mortgages?
36 years.
36 years, okay? So what happens to every average buyer? So what I mean by that is a couple different scenarios, right? So the average buyer buys a home with the intent of a 30-year mortgage, right?
100%.
So we got the white picket fence, we got the we got the
I'm
30-year
gonna
mortgage.
keep this
We're
forever.
gonna keep this forever,
Yeah.
right? So in 2 years, after 2 years, now they don't owe capital gains on a property because
If
they've
it's
lived
their
there,
primary
they've
residence,
lived
right.
in there for 2 years, right?
Well, it's limited.
Yeah, I
Limited
understand,
capital.
I understand, but I'm just kind of like giving you that
Yes.
normal
Yes.
path, right?
Yes.
So most people don't understand that, but they're happy. They got a job. They're living their life. They just had a baby. They had another baby 2 years later, right? So the family's growing, right? So now the family's growing, and we're talking about a condo that's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So all of a sudden, the first kid can get in that 2nd bedroom.
Yep.
Right. No big deal. All of a sudden, the 2nd kid comes along, and oh crap, we don't have space for the 2nd kid,
It's
and we're outgrowing this
it's
property.
getting a little
right?
tight.
Getting a little tight.
It's getting a little
So,
tight.
what is the average resale for a home? And I know the answer, so I'm going to let you tell what is the average resale to a home? How fast does someone turn it over, right? I bought this house today. My intention is to live here for who knows how long. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I got a 30-year mortgage though.
Right.
And so I this house is not good enough for me. I need the next house. I need a bigger house.
So the
So-
average is actually 10 years, but
Mhm.
but the average time of someone would keep a mortgage was actually 5.
That's what I was actually going to.
Yeah.
So the average of someone keeps a mortgage in California, San Diego, nationwide, San Diego is only 5 years.
Yeah.
So that means that mortgage is turned over, basically, right?
For one
So-
reason or another.
Yeah, one reason or another. So basically, they sold that house,
Or they
refinanced
refinance because
it,
they pulled cash
or
out to do an add-on to
Right.
the house.
Exactly.
Or
So
send
they-
junior
they
to college.
turn that loan
or-
over,
yeah,
right?
Yes.
So there's good advantages and bad advantages to doing that, right? Because you bought a house at X. So what I mean X is the price you bought it for and the price you financed it for, basically that rate, right?
Mhm.
Well, when you go 5 years later, now you have to refinance at the current rates.
Yes.
Okay.
Which could be better or worse.
It could be better or worse, right?
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh. Hey.
What did I do?
Your side
Oh,
conversations on
yeah,
our feed.
Exciting conversations. So 5 years later, most mortgage turnover. It is truly average. I mean, I know this answer, right? It happens all the time. People need to buy the next house. They need to move up house. They expand their house. So they need some more money to expand their house, the renovation, right? So that's what we come into too, right? Is that we can help you not only renovate your house. That's not my forte. It's not what I love to do.
But
to be
it
honest
is.
with
But
you.
it is what you do. I mean,
It is what
a
I
part
do,
of your business.
But I don't love it.
Yeah.
What I love doing is building stuff. Honestly, I'm being honest here, right?
Yeah.
So I would love to build a home for somebody, for a family, for a couple, for whatever, right? I love to build houses, right? I love to add on to houses.
you do
and
ADUs,
grow
you do-
with
yeah.
them, all those things, right? ADUs honestly suck, Rob. They really do. They suck in a lot of different ways, right?
But
But it is what the
they're great
market
for property value.
but it is what the market gives us.
Yeah.
Right. So the state kind of, made some rules. Local municipalities, different cities, different areas made some rules to allow these things to happen.
Okay, so let's
And
talk
there's
about
advantage to it.
Okay,
Mhm.
let's talk about why you think it sucks,
Mhm.
and I'll
Yeah.
talk about why I think it's a
Yeah.
positive. So
Mhm.
why do you say it sucks?
Mostly from the construction perspective.
Okay.
Okay. To build a small dwelling in a backyard,
Mhm.
there's no economy of scale.
Detached.
Detached.
Okay.
Yeah. So detached dwelling in the backyard, there's no economy of scale. So when I talk about economy of scale, you guys, when you're talking about a 400, 500, 600, 800 square foot building, up to 1,200 for an ADU, in that ballpark right there, it's very hard to get a good price per square foot because you still need a stove, you still need a roof, you still need a water heater, you still need a laundry. In most cases, all these things you need for a single family home, you still need in the smaller dwelling, and you can't spread the cost out, right? So when you're building a 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 square foot house, pick your 1,000 square footage here, you can spread the cost out better. So your cost per square foot comes way down. So the average house that we build today is between 2,000 and 3,000 square feet, like average single family home, right? It's average. 1 story, 2 story, doesn't matter. Okay, so I can reduce your cost per square foot way down when I'm building a 3,000 square foot house. But when I'm building a 500 square foot house, even though it's shorter, it's less cost. It's less cost.
Less material.
Yes, but it's the cost per square foot is way higher.
In comparison.
In comparison, right? So
There's
and
some
then-
minimum. I get it. So because there's
So-
some minimums that have to be
that-
there
that
that
have
are
to
the
be
high
there,
dollar items.
no matter what, right? And then secondarily is constructability. That's where it sucks for us mostly because a lot of homes in San Diego, when you go down to North Park, Hillcrest, pick your neighborhood down there, they have alleys. Not so bad when you have an alley. The alley is actually a better thing when you're building a secondary dwelling in the backyard or in that area, is that you have the access, right? So you have access from the alley, utilities from the alley, all
Secondary
things.
access.
Yeah, secondary access.
Okay.
Right? Or it could be a main access for that building, but it's secondary, right? So most homes, and I talk about the city of Santee, for example, are in R2 zoning. So what people don't understand is that R2 zoning allows you to put 2 dwellings on a parcel here in the city of Santee. So most homes are a single family home that you see traditionally with a driveway, a garage,
Yeah.
single family home. You have gates on both sides, access, right? You put a accessory dwelling unit in the backyard. How do you get to it? You have to get it from one side or the other, right? So you have a 5-foot gate and a 5-foot gate. You have to get all this material into the backyard. You got to get concrete pumps. You got to get, sometimes crane over the house. Not most cases, but because you can literally labor it, out to the back, right? You have to get the utilities back there from the street, not from the back. Right? So digging a trench from in between this 5-foot, between the fence and a house, between their, 5-foot thing, trying to get tractor in there, all these things like that. Logistically, it sucks. It's hard. It's harder, right? So give me a piece of land, I can build your house fucking a lot faster than I can build a damn ADU today. It's a reality. That's what we're dealing with, right?
So I'll give you one more bad thing about ADUs. It is parking.
Sure.
Parking. So when you're building,
So
a
you
lot
got
of
two
ADUs,
parts. You got 2 parts of parking. One are requirements, and one are actuality, right?
Okay. So a lot of requirements have been relaxed,
right,
or done away with altogether based on state regulations.
Right. That's why we have the requirements, because logistics are logistics.
And it's really that could be a burden on a neighborhood if you've got every house down a city block in a condensed area like a North Park, South Park.
Claremont today.
Claremont's
getting hammered.
Yeah, same thing. Well, they're building like 4 and 5 units on
12 in the backyard.
Yeah,
Come on,
it's
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And there's no
honestly.
parking requirement.
12 in the backyard.
That's absurd. So we're talking in Santee. We're talking about 1.
Yeah.
Typically, and more often than not, it's usually for a family member to move in.
Well,
Parents moving back in with the kids because it's
So ADUs today, honestly, it's the other way. ADUs today is a lot about income property, right? So you talk.
Well,
let's
resale.
Let's go to the finance side in a second here. So ADUs today, a lot of people are looking at for income, and income for different reasons: to offset their mortgage costs, also offset inflation, offset burdens of what the cost it takes to live, right? But back in the day, years and years ago, a ADU fundamentally was a granny flat.
Yeah.
It was a secondary dwelling for what you said.
Yeah.
For a family member that was getting older, a mother-in-law suite,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Granny flat. The kid coming back
Funny
from
that
college.
is literally what they used to call it, mother-in-law suite.
That's what I'm saying. That
is so funny.
was
Yeah.
the term.
Yeah.
That's what these fundamentals were.
Yeah.
And then the state legislature mostly, or even some of the other municipalities, have kind of changed the dynamic of what that looks like, and they tried to turn it into more of an income-producing properties or model, because it was about creating more housing.
Yes.
Right. So people need somewhere to live. They need a roof to be under, right? So how do you do it faster? Because the reality in the world is God ain't making no more land.
That is
Right?
that is a fact.
So you have two ways you got to go. It's either go to vacant areas, vacant land. We have a lot in this nation still today, right? But the problem that the density is not there from these areas.
Jobs
or
are
to
not
go up, right? So go vertical. And I don't know if you saw what happened today. The tallest building in Beijing today got an airplane through it.
Oh, no way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Oh yeah. It was a bad thing.
That's a bad thing,
It
yeah.
was a bad thing. The
Yeah.
tallest building in Beijing. I'm not saying it, I'm just talking about the more you go vertical, the more obstacles you got to live in, right?
Yeah.
So as you build, when we talk about Prospect, Gillespie Field, Prospect, things like that, guess what? We have airport authority, we have all these
Oh,
things
yeah.
that have restrictions that why we don't go vertical, right?
But even, it's in that area that you can't even go one story.
You
Like,
can't,
you
it's
can't
actually,
build.
I think fundamentally there's a lot of issues there, but that's
Agreed.
a long fight with the county.
So I'm seeing, the people that talk to me about it more often than not, really, it's really not about earning dollars with a blind renter. It's like, hey, my kids can't afford to live in
right.
San Diego, and
Yeah.
so, but they don't want to live, with their new family,
Right.
my son and daughter-in-law, or my
or in-
daughter-in-law, or my daughter and
Not only
son-in-law.
the same roof, but they don't want to live in their childhood bedroom.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
Right.
They don't want to live up. Yeah, they don't want to live in the same
Yeah.
room and the same thing, but they can't afford to do it, and
Yeah.
we don't want to see them go to have to go to
Yeah.
Missouri now
Right.
in order to afford something. So we'll build an ADU, or again, it's aging family members where they just can't afford. They saved, they worked hard and all that stuff, but blue collar, you didn't save enough to be able to afford Lantern Crest.
Not to
And
keep
it's
up the
been-
inflation. Not to
Yeah,
keep up
exactly.
the things,
It's anywhere from $6,000 to
Right.
$12,000 a month to live there. It's beautiful, but that's your starting point.
right.
And that that depletes a retirement account
Fast.
real quick.
Fast.
So if you
Yeah.
figure out
So $12,000 a month is $144,000 a year, right? So you drop $150,000 a year
And-
on your living costs, which includes food and all the other things in there. But how long is it gonna last? That's $1.5 million in 10 years.
and
Right.
on top of that, it's not appreciating.
Right.
The money is gone.
It's
It's just gone.
It's basically like rent. So we talked about
An ADU, but an ADU,
it's rent.
you're putting it, when you build an ADU,
Right.
you're putting it into the value of your home as well.
Right.
So you're increasing the appreciation rate. There is a dollar per square foot return on investment,
There is.
ROI on an ADU. It may suck at first and it may be difficult to get it in there, but you've increased the value of your property. So that 5% I was talking about, it's now based on the new basis of the value
Right.
of that house.
And-
So it's appreciating exponentially higher.
Yeah.
And your investment does come back at the same time. You're saving a family member some money by maybe giving them you're not charging them $6,000 a month. Maybe you're charging them $3,000 a month because that's what it added to your mortgage payment,
Right.
or $1,500 a month because that's what it added to your mortgage payment. Whatever the number is, you're charging. It's still saving everybody, while at the same time the property is still appreciating in value.
So we need to talk about appreciating value, right? So in commercial real estate is done differently than residential real estate,
Correct.
right? So in residential real estate, you have a perceived value, whatever, but end of the day, it's only worth what someone's going to pay for it, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So you have an appraiser comes out, he does an appraisal on a property, he looks at it and says, yeah, this is worth that dollar amount, right?
Right.
What you're willing to pay for it, based upon the comparable sales in the market, other comparable features, things like that, right? So how does an ADU change? Because everything that I know in commercial real estate, everything is based upon the rent that comes in, right? So multifamily to
Yeah.
to a business, to a laundromat, to a car wash, it's the dollar revenue that comes in.
So there's
it's
two,
a cap rate, right?
yeah. So there's two ways to look at it. It's if it's an investment property, you'll do something called a 1007 form, which is a rental survey. So it'll also take the rents into consideration and give you a value based on the rents. But the reality is, you still have to compare it to other properties of like kind.
Okay.
So if you're the only one in Santee that has an ADU, you're not going to get dollar for dollar value out of that.
Right.
But luckily, in places that are more urban, we're not urban, we're suburban, but but if you're a more dense suburban area. Oh hey, Lauren.
So let's LG.
ADUs are a huge value add.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for
Yeah.
making my point. So but in order to do that, you've got to be able to compare it to others. So when you're talking about in a rural area, and then you add an ADU onto it, it's difficult to find other properties with.
I agree with you in the rural area, right? Because back to my statement of what I said, it was like it was a granny flat. It was a secondary. It was more for the in-law suite, the granny, whatever. But what about in the urban areas, right? So the urban areas, you see not only the 12 ADUs in the backyard. That's an extreme example. But the reality is that the state of California allows in the urban areas up to like 5 units, and so a junior ADU. So where does this all start calculating?
Okay, but financing changes once you step over 4 units.
Okay, so tell everybody what that means, right? So in the past, 4 units was residential.
Yes.
5 units is commercial.
Correct. So now you're right. We do have now it's up to 10 units. Up to 10 units is still can be residential, but you can't do it on a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae loan.
Okay.
You got to get non-QM financing for it, but they'll still do it as residential, non-commercial.
So does CMG have those type of loans?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. It's just and it's relatively new because this is a relatively new phenomenon.
Right.
But again, you've got to be able to give comparables to other properties of like kind.
Right.
So if you're talking about places like Claremont where there's a bunch of them, it's not that big of a deal. But if you talk about Santee,
right,
and to have a place that has 8 units in the backyard,
you're typically going to see one ADU. You're not going to see
exactly.
that.
You wouldn't get the value out of that.
Right.
You're just until someday. Now somebody may still pay a premium for that house because they know the return on investment when they have rental income coming in. It's going to help make that mortgage payment.
Gotcha.
And it is better when you have. So think about it this way: if I've got one house, all right, and I have a mortgage on it, and the mortgagee stops paying, I'm screwed. I'm out of money. I'm out of money
over
that,
here,
right?
Right. You got money over
but
here.
if I have it on 8 houses, and I'm the landlord, and my one renter stops paying, I've still got 7 that are paying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
So
Yes.
that you're spreading out the risk and liability. So it's a better investment, but it's more difficult to finance.
So all right, you guys, we've gone really long on a lot of the conversation because Rob and I live this business every single day, right? From the construction side of it to the financing side, what we want to do, right? So we're actually going to go a little long today. We're going to a little after 5 o'clock because we have some more things we want to touch. But is there any questions that we missed, Joe, or anything that anybody hit? We want to make sure we answer those questions because we're actually here for you guys as much as we're here for ourselves and have.
We talk to each other like this all the time.
and have a real conversation. But part of it is we're literally giving you the reality of not only our lives, but giving the reality of what it is that we do, right? So we can tell you all day until we're blue in the face, I can build houses, I can build buildings, I can do this, I can do that, right? But the reality is that you have to know us and you have to trust us and you have to call us to understand that, right?
Yeah.
So, CMG Mortgage, how long have you been there?
I've been with CMG for 4 years now, but
4 years.
yeah.
36 years in the mortgage.
20 of that I own my own company, and then the mortgage market meltdown, and I was like, nope, I don't want to own it anymore. I don't want the liability anymore. It's just too much. And
liability owning your own business in the state of California,
well,
really?
I had 5 offices in 2 states, and every bank decided they were no longer lending anymore.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's my business.
That's my business.
It was rough. So yeah, I don't want the liability of that any longer. And I would never have been able to do 10 units like I can here.
Right.
We now have, so when we're talking about these construction loans and stuff like that, or rehab loans. So you already own the house and you want to add an ADU. Here's really listen to this part real quick here. you own a house, you want to build an ADU, but you've owned the house for 2 years, and you've got $60,000 in equity, but unfortunately, it's going to cost how much to build an ADU on average? 152, three?
No, about 3.25, bro. On
300
square footage.
Yeah,
Yeah, about 325 square foot.
325 square foot.
Yeah.
So 1,000 square feet. Yeah, you're looking at 325. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're listing 325, but you've got $50,000 in lendable equity. And I say lendable equity because
Right.
people don't understand the difference there. They're like,
Right.
well, my house is worth $1 million, but I owe 900,000. I got 100,000 in equity. No, you don't. You have no lendable equity whatsoever. No one's going to lend you 100% of the value of the house. So typically you'll go anywhere from 80 to 90% of the value of the home. That's
Right.
considered lendable equity. Anything less than that is lendable equity. We have a program that will give you future value. So now your home is worth, it's not just $1 million, it's now $1,350,000 because you
Right.
added $350,000 of improvements
Right.
to the house. So now your house is worth $1,350,000. But you go, well, yeah, but my interest rate on my first mortgage, because I refinanced it in 2006 or 2020,
Okay.
in 2020 or 2021, my interest rate is 3%. I don't want to mess with that and get this construction loan or rehab loan. We have a second mortgage now.
Okay.
So we have a new second that will still allow you to go 90% without jeopardizing that interest rate on the first and still give you future value. So now
that's actually a very, very good point right there, right?
Yeah.
Because sorry to cut you off, but what he's talking about, you guys, and I'm trying to put it in layman's terms, not technical terms, and in financing terms, is that you have a mortgage on your home today that you refinance, whenever you did, right? So the point being is that that mortgage could be 2.5 to 3 to 4%. Some of that ballpark is probably where everybody kind of got the lowest, the lowest in, right?
Lows, yeah.
The low lows. So in 2001, 2021, 2022, right in that range, we saw the huge, lowest interest rates we've seen in history.
In history.
In history.
Yeah.
So we locked in loans, in our primary homes, sub 3s ultimately, or sub 4s in some cases.
For sure.
But
Yeah.
For sure. Some people sub 3s. You do not want to lose that loan.
You don't want to, yeah.
That is the least expensive cost of money you could probably ever get in your life,
And
right?
may ever see
So
again.
no matter what the denomination of your loan is, how much you borrowed against that, you don't want to lose that. So having an option you're not refinancing, you're not losing that money, but to take out a secondary loan or a refinancing loan behind that.
A second mortgage, yeah.
Yeah,
A
basically.
second mortgage, but it's for the rehabilitation of the house. So it's to beautify your house, to add a pool. We were talking about ADUs, but you could use it to add a pool. You could use it to do landscaping. You could use it to do anything to renovate your home, to upgrade your kitchen, to add a bathroom, to do whatever. All those little things, to put a new roof on.
Yeah.
Whatever you need, without having to jeopardize that first mortgage of in the sub 4s and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Heck, I wouldn't mess with anything in sub 6 right now, just because
that's what the rate is. What is the rate today?
rates today are probably right 6.5.
6.5, right?
Yeah.
On average, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're under 6, you're good. If you're under 5, you're better. And then obviously we talk about sub 4. Sub 4. Anybody's on a sub 4 and their primary residence,
It's
they
hard.
should
It's really
not
hard.
ever touch that loan. Nor honestly, should you ever? We can do this at a later
There
date.
could be reasons.
You should
There
have
could be reasons.
You should have paid the damn thing off, depending on how many years you got left. And that's a whole
Why
like.
would you pay that off early?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It depending on how many years you got left in your life, all the things. Yeah, like this is a
That's the
financial
cheapest
thing.
money. If you're at that rate,
I get it.
make the minimum
But this
payment.
is
That's
the
the
point
cheapest money you're
We're trying
going
to
to get.
explain to people is that we're not just like pretty construction guys or pretty finance guys. We actually understand numbers probably better than you ever can imagine, right?
Yes.
So this is 101 in our world, right? 102 and 103 that I can tell you that we understand this stuff
That was funny.
better
It's
than
not just
than most, right?
Yes.
So
Okay, we are right at that timeline. So before we
All
get going,
So I'm gonna show a couple things to everybody. So I got this really cool portfolio right now that Lauren Bachman put together for me here in my office. So TD Construction portfolio. I'm gonna show you some pretty pictures here real fast. You guys, you come in our office, you see what we do. You want to talk about building a house, building buildings? Like that is literally a 38-unit building that we built right there. We got that is a four-unit building right there. We can go to a single-family home right there for a remodel. That was in over by Grossmont College in Del Cerro area. Come in and see what we actually do. If you want to get serious about actually renovating your home, that's a two-house dwelling over on 32nd Street right there. This is one we just did here in Santee over on Wall Street. This is Peaceful Court, the one that we're selling tomorrow or next week actually, right there. Open. That's the other one, Joe. Sorry. This is one up in Ramona that we just did right here. You guys, we have some really, really cool stuff. I challenge every one of you to come in here and actually talk to us and figure out, how we can help you. Because that actually is what we do every single day. Not only do this business, we have fun doing it. We're actually here to help our clients. Obviously, we're here to make money. We're here to have fun and everything. But we're really good at what we do. And I'm not being coy about it when I say it. Because I tell
that wasn't coy at all.
Thank you.
No, that was a little aggressive.
I know, but I tell everybody when I look at the finished product and how many units that I built over the years, all the things that we do, we're actually really good at what we do. And
how many loans I've done over the years.
Exactly. I mean, it's you cannot replace the experience that we have here in this office with what. I'm probably saying that wrong when I say it. You cannot replace this experience, right? So you cannot buy this experience, right? This is an experience in this place right here. You come in here, we will help you figure out what your dreams are, figure out how we can help you, figure out how we're going to make that happen for you, and get it done, right? So ultimate goal is to build a brand new single family home for you, for your future. If that's not what you have today, we can remodel something, we can fix it up. There's many different ways that we can make that happen and many different loans that can do that, right?
Yeah. There's a way to finance almost anything. If you just got to be creative. And so I had a client that we just got an approval on today. He was with another lender and they were trying to force a round peg into a square hole and it wasn't working. And so his friend, who's an agent, referred him to me, and I'm like, "What in that? Why are you doing that? There was no reason to do that and get the brain damage. Here's another option to go, and it actually is. It's not only easier, it's cheaper for you,
right.
And we can get it done in half the time." He was a little upset that he had to pay for an appraisal with them, and now he had to pay for an appraisal with us. But in the end, it's saving him so much more money. He was like, "Yeah, let's get it done,"
right.
And yeah, we got the full approval today, and it's clean. He was like, it literally just needed one letter from me. That was it.
So here in the UBillet office, you guys, when I put this together, I did it for a couple different reasons. Obviously, it's what our future looks like, helping clients. We help clients, figure out what their goals are. We want to figure out, how we can facilitate every one of your needs and get you the dream house you want. So that doesn't matter if I build a new house, a remodel, or adding on to the houses you have today, right? Is that we have the real estate agent, Lawrence, here in the office to help you define the property, to help you facilitate that need of buying or selling. Rob's here to do the financing on the loan, new construction to renovation loan to
new construction
to addition, and we're here to build it for you.
And purchases. If you want to buy something, refinance something, I'm here for you too.
We have everything here in the office to help you as a client, to help you facilitate your needs, like I said, but also we're here to give you honest, transparent answers. If we cannot do that for you, we don't want to give you.
You'll know in 3 seconds.
We're not going to tell you something you don't want to hear. We're not going to force that square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
That's not what we do here. We are honest, we are truthful, and transparent in what we do. So if you want to give us a call, Joe, put the number up one more time before we finish tonight. You guys, UBillet Santee, we'd love to see you out here in Santee. Come see us. We don't just work in Santee. Obviously, we do work citywide. We talk about a 20-mile radius from Santee. But ultimately, come see us. Come hang out with us. Have a good time.
Is that all you? You're all done there?
You're finishing out tonight.
I'm finishing out tonight. Am I? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Next week, we're actually going to talk. We're going to talk more about Santee salutes. Get back to some fun Santee stuff and a couple. I think we're. You know what? We're going to. We're going to. We're going to talk about this potential tax initiative as well. So we're going to talk about both of those next week. So tune in.
Yep.
Let's get it out there. Let's get some information out there.
Let's get it out there.
And just go for it. So until then,
talking about transparency and truth, man. Let's
amen.
go.
Amen. Until then, we will talk to y'all soon. God bless you. God bless America, and God bless Santee. We'll catch you next week. Love you. Bye-bye.